They can't keep getting away with it. They can't keep getting away with it. Now, I'm going to say something that is going to cause massive unrest in the ranks. I have never watched to completion Breaking Bad. I haven't. And as a result, after telling you this, I am aware that I will likely have to avoid the comments section of this particular video because it will probably include spoilers, which I have also miraculously avoided when it comes to that show. But one of the memes that I have seen, of course, is the "you can't keep getting away with it" meme. And Bayern Munich exemplifies the they can't keep getting away with it meme. Now, they did finally lose the league. They did finally lose the league, which that is obviously something that reduces the impact of them bullying the entire rest of the country. But in a way that I find almost much more malicious than Real Madrid, Bayern Munich suffocates the German game with such ruthless, calculated efficiency that it is. If I was a fan of a German club, I would be furious. And what first set me onto this, because it's happened again, obviously we're going to talk about who and what and where and why, was Robert Lewandowski, who was the star of Borussia Dortmund, goes to the Champions League final, loses the league, and then goes to Bayern and gets an ovation at Dortmund. Fuck that. All right, I am all for happiness and uplifting players, and you've heard me rant against people that go too far with this stuff. But I am a fan of a team, and a guy is a star, and we're offering that guy the same amount of money. We're offering that guy the same amount of opportunity. Because let's be honest, if you're making a Champions League final, you have the same amount of opportunity. And he decides to go to another team because it's easier. He decides to go to another team because he just doesn't care enough about the team that he's on to stay there. He wants to go to that other team. I am not cheering for him. I will not be sending him hate mail because that is also a dick thing to do. But I am not going to sit there and debase myself by applauding him. And that brings me to the other point, that the entire rest of the German league system seems to be more than happy to just bend over for Bayern Munich. Because Bayern Munich has just kowtowed the entire German league system for so long. Now, Borussia Dortmund is a very clearly stated plan, right? They sell players for a lot of value. They kind of remind me of Tottenham in a lot of ways, not in the no trophy sense, right? But the sense that they seem to be playing a value game, right? That they're always going to be in an excellent financial position, which is great. You never have to worry about that, right? But they don't seem willing to take any risk to try and hang on to real, top of the line, best player in the world type players throughout their career, right? If Ousmane Dembele bursts onto the scene, we're going to take the huge transfer. And in hindsight, that was a brilliant idea to take that transfer. But they're going to get bullied by Bayern Munich. And Bayern Munich has pulled a lot of different levers over the years to be able to bully these clubs. I remember a time when Bayern Munich even threatened to not release any of its teams or any of its players for the German national team if Manuel Neuer was not restored as the starting goalkeeper for Germany. That's the type of bullying that happens. Okay. Part of me respects it. It's the same part of me that I hate Florentino Perez at Real Madrid, but you have to respect the fact that he's amazing at his job. You have to respect the fact that Bayern Munich is just operating at a completely different level, whether they've won the league the last year or not, than any other team in Germany. And they have been for a long time. And the latest swoop is a coup. It is a coup, and it involves a player that you will likely hear a lot about in the next couple of years that you might not know so far. It's a guy named Tom Bischof. Now, I realize that I am probably not saying that right. I took German for a couple of years in college, but Bischof, Tom Bischof, Bischof, maybe? I have no idea how that letter combination is pronounced in German. So hopefully you guys know. Tommy boy, right? Tom Lebisk. He is signed for Bayern Munich on a free. 19-year-old player from Hoffenheim has signed for Bayern Munich on a free deal. Of course, that doesn't make any sense because we're in January, but as Florian Plettenberg puts it, he's signed a free deal in advance. If you know anything about transfers in international football, you know that by the time you get to January, once you're within 6 months of the expiration of your contract, which is typically at the end of June, you are allowed to negotiate a new contract. And Hoffenheim was not able to find a deal for Tom Bischof here, and Bayern Munich has swooped in and said, we're signing him on a free at the end of the season. Now, signing some 19-year-old you probably haven't heard of is not a huge surprise. But before I get into that, I want to go into caveat. I know that in England, the rule is different. You cannot negotiate out 6 months in advance. My ball knowledge might have, gaps, but one of them is not registration rules. That I've got locked down. For whatever, the Football Manager has taught me that much. But then you come to find out that Tom Bischof has made 24 appearances for Hoffenheim this year. 24! He's 19 years old. He's made 24 appearances for Hoffenheim. He has 4 goal contributions in the Bundesliga this season. Hoffenheim is in 7th in the Bundesliga, competing for European places. He's made 6 appearances of those 24 in the Europa League, right? He's gaining major European experience. His transfer market value, which we all know that's usually unreliable, right? Has been skyrocketing. And he is considered one of the best young German talents. And you don't need to take my word for it. That is a quote from Christopher Freund, who is the Bayern sporting director. He is one of the biggest German talents. That's the first thing he says in the Athletic article about this transfer. And they got him for free. For free. This means Hoffenheim went through all the trouble to develop this guy. Right, turn him into a player that steps into the Bundesliga in his age 19 season and shows out. He's not a particularly massive dude, right? This isn't somebody that's just physical standout beyond his years. He's just a damn good player as a teenager. And Bayern's able to get after him for free. I don't even know how this happens. Fire everybody. But in this day and age, when you have these financial restrictions, it's basically a value game. And if you develop somebody with this kind of talent, sure, you might not be able to hang on to him, but you got to get something for it. This ends up just being a net negative financially. You paid his wage. You paid for him to develop. He helps you out in the top league for like 2 seasons, and then he's gone. And then he goes to Bayern Munich, and then you're actively playing against him likely for the next 10 to 15 years because Bayern Munich just vacuums up these guys. And then in a couple of years, you're going to be watching Bayern, and Tom Bischoff's going to be making his emergent appearance in the Champions League, right, where he's dominating some Premier League midfield full of overhyped dudes. And you're going, wow, Bayern Munich's got another one. And yeah, they did, but how? I mean, obviously, the answer to the question how is the Florentino Perez answer. Bayern just does it quietly. Florentino Perez is not nearly as quiet about the way that he does things. Bayern clearly does things in the same way. There's back channeling going on. I would be willing to wager Tom Bischof before the season even started had a good inkling that he was going to be going to Bayern Munich towards the end of the season. Right? I mean, there's a combination of these players and agents knowing they can get more money on their wage if they run out their contract. Right? And players and agents have been doing that as long as history has existed, but it feels like it's become in vogue. It's the cool kids thing to do over the last couple of years. Wait to the end of your contract. You get more money that way. But they also play footsie with the team. Right? It's this cat and mouse game where you go, oh, let me look at the terms. And then all of a sudden it's January. Then you're able to go wherever you want. And Bayern Munich slaps the offer on the table and it's signed before it's even fully laid down as a piece of paper. You're already signing the bottom half and you're gone. The Bundesliga is a great league. I love watching it. I loved what Bayer Leverkusen was able to do last year, but let's not pretend that was anything other than a miracle season. They're having another good year, and they're trying to give Bayern Munich a run for their money at the top of the league. But this is, and unless this sort of thing changes, always will be a one-club league. There is one club that ever has a chance to run this league. The Premier League, that's not true. La Liga, that's not true. Serie A, that's not true. In the Bundesliga, it is true. One club to rule them all because the other clubs just seem to let it happen. They're not even doing it intentionally, but Bayern Munich's got this thing whole figured out. It feels like some sort of corrupt crony political system where eventually all of the money and all of the talent eventually flows up to one team and then sometimes flows away from one team in order to make that one team money. Like Lewandowski headed over to Barcelona or whatever. It is wild to me. And it's almost counterproductive when it comes to the idea of competitive sport. Back to me being annoyed by the whole Borussia Dortmund thing. The idea is that you go into the season trying to beat the other team. And in a lot of things, it just feels like none of these other teams are actually trying to beat Bayern Munich at their own game. I don't know. What are your thoughts? If you're German, am I right?